Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Sabadish originally and something else before that.
Yeah, and I met Alina at Yoga Blue
Mm-hmm.
about, do the math.
7 years ago.
7 years ago?
Yeah, 7, 8 years ago.
And I was just a hardcore surfer back then. And then I did her class and I realized I didn't know how to move. And you move like a ballet dancer. You do ballet?
I did everything but ballet.
Yeah?
So I can cheat ballet, but I was never really classically trained in ballet. My training was more in jazz and modern and contemporary dance.
How'd you get into that?
So I started dancing just because I loved to move when I was a little kid, and I did little kid dance classes, but when I was around 7, I decided my teacher was mean and I quit, and that was the end of dance. And I went into gymnastics and sports and cheerleading, and then
What sport?
volleyball,
Yeah.
mainly. And then
You still play today?
informally, I'd love to get back into it. I was a court player, and
Yeah.
everyone plays beach here, which is awesome, but totally different sport, you know?
Different.
Yeah. But then I fell back into dance because I was at volleyball practice, and I saw the dance team practicing, and I was like, I could do that, and I just tried out for fun, and then I made it, and then I was a competitive dancer.
Did you always dance though? Like even when you quit dancing, did you
Yeah.
always keep dancing?
Yeah,
like
because I would just do like dancing in my home. I would put on music and just go crazy. I would
Yeah.
do what's like ecstatic dance now, but by myself.
What kind of music? Every song,
it was
Frank
a-
Sinatra?
It was a lot
Anything?
of like meatloaf and 80s music and
Yeah.
stuff like that, because that's what my mom listened to.
Yeah.
So like power 80s ballads, a lot of stuff
Yeah.
like that. So like really emotional, and that's the kind of dance I fell into. It's like lyrical. and
Do you start
contemporary dance.
crying sometimes when you dance?
Sometimes you have to. It's part of the performance, right? So
Yeah.
it's acting too.
Is that how you get the emotions out? Is that how you deal with your emotions?
The emotion comes from feeling the emotion in your body through your movement. So you like cheat code the movement, and then sometimes you just learn to fake it and get really good at
Like,
acting too.
what about when you dance when you're pissed?
Well, when you
Sure you
dance,
get pissed.
of course. I mean, yeah, you always have angry days. I mean, when you're dancing, it's a good check on how your emotions are in your body. So if I'm pissed and I'm dancing, I'm flinging a lot of energy out of my hands, and
Yeah.
when I dance, I'll be like, oh, I'm losing a lot of my energy. I need to keep it, and so it'll help me rein it in. So yeah, and then I just was in dance really hardcore for about 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What age did you start?
Well, I really started like back into dance at 15, and then I always said dance is just going to be a fun thing. I'm not going to, be a professional dancer or anything. And then in college, I joined the student dance company, and then I
Does
got.
that get more serious, more political?
I was on the leadership board. It was actually really cool. We
Yeah.
put on cool shows. But then I was kind of unofficially part of the dance department without having a dance degree. I was still in the dance
Yeah.
production somehow, just because I knew the teachers. And then my senior year, again, like kind of on a whim, I'm like, I'm just going to try out for this dance company, and then I made it. So my senior year, I was in a hip hop dance company.
I used to break dance.
Huh?
I used to break dance, do flares. I used to be able to do all
Yeah,
that.
the guys
Yeah.
did that stuff. It was co-ed. And then when I graduated, I did a modern dance company after that. And then I stopped dancing because I moved to LA, and I realized I don't want to be a professional dancer. I like it to be joyful. For me.
Right.
So,
What's it get like when you get to LA?
for me, the style of dance that was really popular at the time, it's like 2010, 2011, was really emotional, like neck snapping dance. Like it was flinging your body. It was upset and kind of sad, and I wasn't really into that. I always like joyful movement. Like I like African dance. I like hula. I like world styles, belly dance, and yoga was helping me realize I was hurting myself
Yeah.
and injuring myself a lot.
Oh, then you started yoga. When
Yeah.
did you start yoga?
I started yoga when I was a teenager, but I got really into it in college, and then I became an instructor.
Did you do
right
yoga
after
and you
college.
were instantly good at it?
There's no good at yoga. I was actually, my first time going to my yoga studio where I did my training in DC, I was like, I'm a dancer, I can do a level 2-3 class, like this will be easy for me, and it kicked my butt because they're doing like side crows and headstand, and they're moving really fast, and it humbled me. So yoga helped me knock my ego, which kind of made me a worse dancer in a way, because I didn't care anymore about being perfect.
There's a swagger you get with ignorance.
Sure.
And everybody acts like it's the worst thing in the world to be ignorant. But there's, when I first started surfing, I would surf fucking anything.
Yeah, you just
And
go for it.
I was 10 times more hardcore than I am now. Now I'm so picky. I'll drive 2.5 hours, and if it's not good, I'll turn around and drive home. I
Yeah.
won't even get in.
Yeah.
I'm just so disappointed in myself. And I'm depressed driving home, and all I had to do was get in. Like, did you find that you did that a little bit? Did you lose your swagger a little bit?
I think I stopped needing the swagger so much, right? Because in
Yeah.
dance, like you have to, especially when I was auditioning and I was competing with other dancers, and so you have to have that swagger. And then when I started practicing yoga more seriously, I didn't care anymore what other people thought, or
so
I didn't even really care about the outcome, right? So like to me, driving all that way, well, do you enjoy driving? Did you listen to music that you like? Did
I
you
do
have
like
silence?
driving.
So you had a positive experience. You actually did the yoga in a way of being like, no, that's not what I want or need right now, you know? So it does give you a different lens. So I think because I stopped with that push, I was like, oh, I don't need to
And you're creating
like tour with Beyonce.
the presentation of dancing is similar to life. It's a metaphor for life. Like, you can move in a way in life where everybody thinks everything's all right, but you could be secretly very depressed.
Most people are dealing with things that
Yeah.
no one could ever imagine. And so once you start seeing that, it's and plus teaching yoga gave me a way that a lot of times I would end up with just a few students in my first few classes, you know, or I would teach at smaller studios. And I would end up with people like one-on-one, and we'd have a private. And most people like feel bad about that. I'm like, no, let's do it. I love private lessons. And so then they start telling you things about your life, and you connect with them in a way that's just so, you know, that I wasn't getting in dance. Like, I'm not sitting with someone in dance class and be like, let's get to know you.
They don't want to get it because they got to compete with you, don't they?
Yeah, and it's about, it's a different experience. It's very, you know, you're teaching to the mirror. You're not actually looking at the people. So I love dance, but I didn't kind of love where I was in the dance world.
Yeah.
I liked where I was in the yoga world. So I transitioned more into that. But I still move. I still perform occasionally. I go to
you still
ecstatic
move.
dances.
We did some May swings today.
Yeah.
You were moving, and brought
I'll
some
always
new moves
dance,
to the table.
just like I always do yoga.
Yeah. I battle depression, and what I do with depression is I listen to certain songs and move with a mace. So that's
Yeah,
a
I
lot
do
of
the same
that.
thing with yoga.
A lot of that is restorative for me. It's not. I post it, but it's just so I have the memory to reflect on it. My grandkids can see it one day, and my kids can see it one day. You know.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about what you're doing with these videos. Like, your great grandchildren could watch them. You know, we now have a way
Grandpa was
to,
a badass. When I'm sitting in a chair.
To see your ancestor, like we don't imagine being able to watch videos of your great grandparents.
That'd be great. Yeah.
And see where they lived, and
So what are you doing now?
Right now, I'm a mom of 3. That is my primary day-to-day.
3's a good number. How old?
Yeah, 6, 4, and 10 months old.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, so I still see clients. I do yoga, I do Reiki, I do other online work, you know, a creative life. Yeah.
And what are the kids' names?
Riker is 6, Jordy is 4, and Indigo is my baby girl.
Where'd you pick the names up?
So Riker, I was looking for a name that meant brave leader, because I thought that's what his name was supposed to be. And I found Richard, and I didn't want to go so traditional, so I looked up Richard in other languages and found Riker, which is Dutch, and I'm part Dutch. And that just fits very well. And then Jordy I named while I was paddleboarding right out there, actually. His name kind of came through. My grandma always wanted a George, and she got a John and a Michael and a Joseph. That's when your husband would name your kids and you didn't get to pick. So.
Really? That was a thing?
Yeah. Back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, you know, and so she never got a George. So anytime she would want something done around the house, she'd go, George, and she'd yell out George, and the closest boy or her husband would have to come.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, so my grandma always wanted a George, and again, I didn't want to name my son George. I wanted something a little different, and George is a Catalan version of George. To call him Jordy. And then Indigo, that was just a name that had been following me and Mike for years. And we're like, oh, it's supposed to be. Here she is.
And what oh, look at that snake.
Oh, yeah. It's a good omen.
Yeah. What do you do now?
What do I do now for work-wise, life-wise?
It doesn't really matter. It could all be the same thing.
Yeah.
It is all kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I mean, I facilitate experiences for people that are freeing and joyful. That's kind of what I do. So whether that's a beach yoga class or a private sound healing session, or I'm helping them launch a really aligned business that they want. Whatever my ADHD brain wants to focus on and hyperfixate
Like, do you
on.
have goals right now, or are you just kind of you just go with it and let it flow? Like for me, I like to live 3 years in the future, and like I'm looking back at myself and ask myself, what did I do today to accomplish? Now, I can change that goal at any point I want. I'm not locked into it, but vision kind of helps bring it together.
Totally. Yeah.
For me.
My thinking has always been like 10, 15 years in advance, but my work has been in like pulling it closer. Like, okay, I see the grand vision, and then what am I doing to take it there? So I like working with people who are good at reflecting that for you.
And then you get to a point where you're old enough where you're living in the moment.
Yeah.
You just quit. You're like, okay, I'm 70. I don't need to live 15 years in the future anymore, or 5 years in the future. I need to live for today.
I'm here right now.
Yeah, let's go get some ice cream.
I mean, big goal is to create some kind of retreat center or farm or community of people who can come and either live there or stay there and do retreats and classes and courses and experiences.
What country?
You know, I really feel drawn to work in Florida. You know, I'm from here.
Yeah.
This is my home. You know, my family's here. And there's a lot of cool land and land near water in Florida.
There's some good price land, especially over in Sebastian Inlet in that area.
Yeah, so I want to be on water, ideally in Florida. That's what I'm thinking. But then that's not to say that you can't help people create communities like that in other places.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So you find a work, because everyone wants to live in a hippie commune, but how do you actually make it work, right?
Almost everybody, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people, and they don't actually have the skills or the planning or the finances to like fund it. So how do you actually create
I think
that?
a lot of people have a lot of great vision, but it's hard to bring that vision to life. There's a lot of patience it takes to it, and there's like always that point where like you're frustrated, but that's the point it's going to come to life. You know, like Dr. Frankenstein was frustrated. He gave up, and then lightning came and brought his monster to life. You know, all that work he put in.
Yeah. I mean, what's that saying that it took like however many times to make the light bulb? Like thousands or something. Yeah, so that's kind of my in the flow space right now. That's where I am.
And then we did a mace swing today, which was good, man.
That was fun.
That was a fun flow. We did like a 2-minute flow. That's actually pretty long as far as a mace flow goes.
It was different every time. But we have the backbone.
You know, I could never be locked into like a book report.
Yeah.
A movement that's so specific. It has to be organic. Yeah, it's more, I like more of a concept than being locked in. And there's times where I'm like, oh, I wish I would have worked that in there. But then there's times where you see the video and you're like, oh man, that was kind of cool. You know, it's a mistake or something like that.
Yeah, that's how I teach every time. I never show up with a set of postures or flows, except if it's a very specialized workshop, which is kind of rare. I prefer to just show up and I don't even know what's going to happen in the next movement until we're finished.
It's more like life.
Yeah, and then you can actually phrase it out according to what the people who show up need. Because
do their bodies show you what they need by the way they move?
Yes.
And then you just interpret that?
Yeah, like I can have a class come into child's pose and down dog, and just by looking at those two postures see, okay, most people are dealing with this, most people have this issue, or everyone's really amped up today, or everyone's really tired today, based on if I give the option child's pose, down dog, or vinyasa. I see how many people choose child's pose, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you go with that energy, and you want to get people up over that wave, a little bit of effort, right? Make it worth it, and then really
back in the day, I would take vinyasa and I'd do like 10 push-ups and all that stuff.
Well, you would do push-ups
now
and then you would
different.
Straighten out. I was thinking about this earlier.
Shutter push-ups.
Yeah, you would like come into Chaturanga Dandasana and like tent your fingers under towels and then slide out to like a straight body, and I'd just be like, okay, we're gonna go with that then.
I didn't know that was a thing. I just felt like it was.
Sure. Yeah. That was the fun thing about Yoga Blue was people were like kind of more power and physical, and it's a lot of hot classes and stuff. So I could push everyone's edge a little bit more and come up with some cool stuff. Yeah. We did the yoga with weights.
You know, I did yoga with weights and I'm like, 2 pounds. And then you do it and you're like, holy fuck.
It's what you did with the mace today, with the heavy mace, and then you gave me the light one. It's the same thing. You give someone weights and do sun salutation.
You adjust their comprehension.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you let them go and you're like, oh my gosh, I can.
Perspective change.
Yeah, I can jump right back and push up easy. Yeah.
So what's going on moving forward, short term? What are you going to do? You don't need an answer for that. I'm just wondering.
It's funny because you kind of caught me at like literally the transitional week right now in my life. A couple weeks because my daughter just started daycare last week.
So it's opening up.
It was earlier than we had initially planned. So I literally have this like few month period where I'm like, I can do whatever I kind of want.
Is it weird having that freedom? Because I know you miss your kid, but I mean, when my kids are
3 days a week, it's actually perfect. Yeah. It's not weird. I think it would have been weird for my boys because I spent more time with them just kind of out of necessity, and then Indigo is a really independent, very chill, easy baby.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, like you're ready to play with some friends and, you know, start school a little earlier. And I kind of want to use my brain and not be, you know, in mom mode all day long. So I'm kind of in an open space right now. I want to do a little bit of work with entrepreneurs because I love entrepreneurship and like helping with marketing and writing, but I'd love to move more to, you know, I'm looking at starting some maybe dance classes because it's been a while since I did dance, and I put it out there the other day, like who wants to do like a street jazz hip hop kind of combo class, and got tons of response.
God,
So I'm
that's
like,
so
okay.
intimidating.
Yeah, you should come. You should come.
You're right. Things that are intimidating are normally very rewarding in the end.
Yeah. Well, especially like you're an athlete, so once you're at a certain level of movement, it's good to challenge like you're doing right now with this series and try different. Like we'll do a yin practice where you will stay still for 10 minutes and just have to breathe.
That just sounds nicely. It is, I'm sure.
It's gonna be good.
If I cry, I'm gonna be upset.
If you don't cry, I won't have done my job. That's what I do for people as well. So like when I do energy work and things like that, that's most people the first time we meet have some kind of release. It might not be a cry.
Yeah.
But maybe they're like talking about something they haven't talked about, or like there's some kind of catharsis that happens. And so I like meeting people on that level too. And doing like
So all that shit that I take and just shoved deep down there.
yeah, it causes serious health issues later on in life if you don't address it, I believe, right? Like in yoga
I'm
we
sure
talk
you're
about
right.
the issues in your tissues. That's why people can go to pigeon pose and feel like sobbing, or stretch their quad and want to get like punch me in the face, you know? I see it when I work on people's quads. Everybody's face goes starts like making angry faces. I'm like, okay, chill out, you know? And the belief is that we store anger here. And so when we stretch it, we're helping to release it. So yeah, you gotta release it. And I mean, you don't have to. You can carry it around your whole life if you want to, but it's usually not as enjoyable.
You know, letting it out it's just not a natural thing for me.
Sure,
But
I mean,
I have been
especially
better
as
the last
a
month.
man, like you've been taught since you were a boy to not
An Arabic
express
man
emotion.
is
And
very
sure,
different. You
yeah.
don't,
So then
you
you're
know.
carrying the, you know, all of that in your DNA as well, and your culture, and that makes it even more of a challenge. But when you break those bonds, or just analyze them, or just at least be able to look at them,
I won't
like,
be crying all the time, will I?
I mean, maybe for a little bit. Like some people need a daily cry for like, but it's never as long as they think. People are afraid they're gonna be a broken, sobbing mess for the rest of their life, and it's like, no, maybe 2 minutes though. Like, can you handle 2 minutes of being a broken, sobbing mess? And that's max, usually what people need. And then maybe you have some tears a few times a week for a couple months, and then you're like, all right, I'm good.
I'm crying at commercials.
Yeah. A lot of people cry at movies and commercials. Yeah. There are certain chemicals that are only released through tears.
Wow.
Yeah.
My kid, he watched, you remember Marley and Me? The dog movie?
I don't like watching animal movies because I will just like, it's not
So
good.
it was getting towards the end. He was really little. His name's Max. And I go, come on, let's get out of here. He goes, no, the movie's not over. I go, no, dude, let's go out to the car real quick. He goes, no, the movie's not over, Dad.
You dragged him out so you could cry?
No, he didn't. It wasn't about me. It was about him.
Okay.
I'm tearing up thinking about
Aww.
it. But he goes, no, it's a movie. Then the dog dies. He goes, my heart is wet. It was so cute.
My heart is wet.
My heart is wet.
His heart was crying.
Yeah. You should have told me. I go, I tried to get you out of here.
You know, it's funny because I've always said, like, if I have boys, I'm going to let them be emotional and cry and not be like, you have to man up, you know? But then my oldest is the most emotional person I've ever met. And so I actually do need to teach him, okay, it's time to release and we're going to go to the next thing. And then I'll catch myself in like not allowing it, or his brother even. I'm like, oh, wait, nope. And I have to return to the intention because he is very emotional and very sensitive and deeply spiritual. And so I'm like, okay, we're going to keep facilitating this. And it's kind of like karma for me because I'm sure I was that way for my parents too, you know? But it's all good.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming and talking to me.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
Thanks
it and
for
working out with
having
me today.
Cool.
That's it.
Yeah, sweet. You're a great interviewer.
Thanks.